إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. We start in the name of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, the Most High, the one to whom belong all praise, the one to whom we return, the one who controls all affairs, the one who gives, the one who takes, the one who guides. And we send peace and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam and his family and his followers until the end of time. And before I begin, I would just like to remind the brothers to move forward, inshaAllah, because it seems we're going to have a full house, so move forward as much as you can. Jazakumullahu khairan. It should come as no surprise that my thoughts and my reminders today are revolving around moving into Ramadan. And it should be very important that we repeat and we continuously remind ourselves about this experience of moving into Ramadan. And there are several reasons for that. Amongst them are ones that we can understand very easily and very simply. So I'll give two types of examples, and hopefully those two types of examples will help all of us to understand why it's important to warm up before Ramadan. The first is in relation to sports. Anyone who's done any sort of exercise, which I hope everyone has done, inshaAllah, or competed in any sort of sport, they know that ahead of time, before you start the real competition, you have to warm up. You have to spend time getting your body a little bit warm, stretching out a little bit, getting things loose, practicing before the main event, and when the main event comes, then you're ready to actually compete. So we have to keep talking about Ramadan, we have to keep reminding ourselves about Ramadan and what we need to do before Ramadan comes, because now we're less than 2 weeks away. And begin to prepare ourselves to build that mood, to build that environment, inshaAllah. The second is in relation to study. And I would imagine that, again, many people can relate to this. Because I remember when I was at UCSD, every professor would tell us, don't come before the exam only and take the exam. Don't study last minute. We're giving you the layout. Here's how the entire quarter or semester is going to go. Read before time, come to class, take notes, and they would give us all these pointers. And they would say, if you do all of these things, the exam will go well. And of course, all of us, mashallah, we would wait until the last minute, 2 days before the exam, 3 days before the exam, we start reading all the material, taking notes here and there, trying to put together any sort of nonsense that we can, just to get through. And then 2 weeks later, we forget everything. This is exactly what the majority of us do with Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they give us guidances for everything that we need in our life. And the Prophet ﷺ, in specific, it said about him that the month that he would fast the most in outside of Ramadan is Sha'ban. That this month that comes right before Ramadan, that's when the Prophet ﷺ would fast the most. He's getting ready. And all of us, we should start to get ready. But usually what we do is we wait till the last minute and then we take the exam. We may do well, we may not do as well, and then afterwards we fall off. But what happens if you follow the opposite approach? If you do what the professor said to do, which I did maybe 2 classes in my entire undergrad, alhamdulillah, is you go and you read before you get to class. And then you sit in class and you listen and you take notes. And when you get home afterwards, you review. And then as the weeks pass, you come into the exam and it's very easy. So imagine now we have a couple weeks before Ramadan, we start warming up. We know that in Ramadan we want to finish reading the whole Quran, for example. Or we know that in Ramadan we want to try to pray extra prayers at night in the masjid or at home every single day. And we know that we're going to be fasting. And we know that X, Y, Z, all of these different things are going on. So we decide that we want to increase a little bit from now. And every single person, this is very important, there's no blueprint for how every single person should run their Ramadan. Each person has to look at themselves. Each person has to be able to personalize their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the point that they know what they need. I can say, for example, I get up every single day and I struggle to bench press the sheet to pray Fajr. But I'm able to do it, alhamdulillah. The other person knows that sometimes they succeed in Fajr, sometimes they don't succeed in Fajr. The other person knows that they have the 5 prayers down, but they don't pray any sunnah. The other person knows that they have their sunnah down, so on and so forth. So the person looks at themselves and they begin to think, this is just a way that Allah is giving us to move forward in our relationship with Him. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, we have given dignity and honor to the children of Adam, alayhi salam, humankind. Allah has honored and blessed and dignified humankind. And Allah wants from us to reach our potential. He doesn't want from us to just live half lives, to live lives that are not invested in doing the best thing that we can possibly do. He Subhana wants us to live our life in the best way possible. He wants us to push ourselves to the next level so that we can attain the most in this life and therefore the most in the next life as well. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. He doesn't want us to just show up and keep playing the same game over and over again. And that's why even if you don't warm up for Ramadan, Ramadan is still important. It's like when I was in high school and I played basketball in high school. Pre-season, what our coach would do is he would make sure that he put us in tournaments that we would just get destroyed in. We would go to the tournament in Fairfax, for example, and we would play teams that would just destroy us. 40 points, 50 points, you just get killed. And he would do it on purpose every single year so that when season comes, when league comes, you see the team and you're like, oh, it's no big deal. We can play against them. We can compete with them. And you play. Ramadan is pushing us. Imagine if you never had that. Imagine if you never had the game. Imagine if you never had the test. Just like, I hate exams personally, from an educational perspective. But you have to have the exam in order to push people. If you don't have the exam, they don't get pushed. You never move to the next level. The game is there to move you to the next level. Imagine if we didn't have Ramadan. Imagine. I was thinking about this yesterday, subhanAllah. If you didn't have Ramadan, we would do what most of us do. The year goes, you cruise up and down, up and down, up and down, usually heading down a little bit. And the next year comes, you're in the same level. But with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us Ramadan, you get the jump. So you cruise, you go up and down, you're trying to improve. When you feel Ramadan is coming, you put the extra effort in. Now I'm going to put the extra effort, I'm moving up, I'm moving up, I'm moving up. And then Ramadan comes, you jump. And you might drop afterwards. It's natural to drop afterwards. But the drop doesn't drop you all the way back down to where you were before. So every single year, Allah is pushing us higher and higher and harder to worship Him in the best way possible. And this is one of the secrets of Ramadan, I think, that we really have to grasp upon. That opportunity is there. It's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That gift is the extra reminder, the extra push, the extra opportunity to engage one another, the extra opportunity to meet the brother or the sister that we didn't meet before, the extra opportunity to build a relationship of love, the extra opportunity to invite our neighbors over to dinner, the extra opportunity to engage all the avenues of khair, of goodness that exist around us. That's Ramadan pushing us into that full realization of what it means to truly be human in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the opportunity that Allah has given us. And when we move into it and we remind ourselves, you could hear 3 khutbahs all after one another. Every reminder every day could be, Ramadan is coming, we need to prepare for Ramadan, and it's still important. How does behavior modification work? Say for example, I have a problem. I dealt with this one for many years. Actually I'm still dealing with this one. You say things that you just know you shouldn't have said. All of a sudden you're in a conversation, everything's good, you're controlling yourself, you're really working on your speech, and everything is nice, and then someone says something, you just, boom, you lose it and you say something. In college, what we used to do is we agreed between all the brothers, these are the list of things that we don't want to do. It wasn't bad words, by the way, mashallah, we were much past that. Bad words is given. We don't want to be disgusting people, we want to have class. So we don't have bad words, but we don't want to say things like stupid. We don't want to be negative. We had all these things that we put on there. And we said, anytime someone catches the other person doing it, you're doing 10 or 15 push-ups. So mashallah, after a couple of days and a lot of push-ups, everyone's language was cleaned up. But you put that effort in, and you struggle in these things. You struggle in these things in order to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and put that effort in before Ramadan comes. So we go in and we remind ourselves every day, because we want to build that spirit. We want to build that camaraderie, that environment of Ramadan. Not just, and that's why people, they miss Ramadan in the Muslim majority countries. And I would tell them, like when we were in Egypt, they would say, don't you, Ramadan is so nice in Egypt, you're not going to be here for Ramadan. I would tell them, yes, Ramadan is beautiful in Egypt, but I miss my family. For me, I don't have family in Egypt, so I miss my family in Ramadan. I miss my in-laws in Ramadan. I miss my brothers and my sisters in Ramadan when I'm not there, but the environment is there. So we ourselves in our communities, we have the ability to build an environment wherein we can capitalize on this time to increase in our relationship with our Lord, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we keep reminding ourselves, and as such, I want to say a few things about Ramadan, about the blessings of Ramadan, and then also in the second half of the khutbah, just some particular points hopefully that we can take away, that we can work on in this month, inshallah. The first thing is coming from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the words of God, wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, O you who believe, written upon you is fasting as it was written upon those before you, so that you may attain consciousness of God. A few days. The beginning of the next verse that comes is a few days. So whoever is, fasting, traveling, or sick, and the verses go on. But to point out also this thing will come later. The first, and you can take so many lessons from the Quran, subhanAllah. The first is, Ya ayyuhan ladina amanu. The verse starts by calling your attention to something. Sometimes you're talking to someone, right? And you engage in the discussion and you're making your point and you're trying to say what you're trying to say and you realize that they're slipping away a little bit. The person's not paying attention anymore. You said, and then you say it. So you say, and Ahmed, what I'm trying to say is so-and-so. And you throw in their name one more time. And you throw in a little bit of a call here and there, a change in pitch, in order to grab their attention again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is starting out these verses with, Ya ayyuhan ladina amanu. O you who believe. It's a call, it's a nidat, it's a call to the believers that this is something that you need to pay attention to. This right here is one of the keys that you need in building your relationship with the divine, in living a life of consciousness, of piety. And anytime we see that phrase in the Quran, we should pay attention. What's going on right here? And one of the reasons why I always loved praying behind Sheikh Taala, may Allah preserve him, in San Diego, was that almost every time you pray behind him, the verses are always Ya ayyuhan ladina amanu verses. O you who believe, do such and such. O you who believe, stay away from this or that. And it maintains a large level of practicality. What is it that, okay, I'm a believer. What is it that I want to do, what I need to do in order to get closer to Allah? كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُم. Then the interesting thing that comes after that is كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمْ. It was written upon you. Imagine you go, you don't feel well. Or maybe you feel well, you're just going for your yearly checkup to the doctor. You go to the doctor looks over everything, checks you out. He or she says, you know what, you need to take such and such drug every so often, or you need to, maybe you go and they tell you you need some certain vitamins, you need this supplement, you need whatever it is in order to feel better, in order to attain this higher level. So you go and you say, Alhamdulillah, that's fine, and you take it. You take the prescription. That prescription, kutiba alaykum. That prescription was written upon you. Now you took it. The same terminology is used in the Quran. That this fasting was written upon you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows the intricacies of the spiritual journey. He knows, subhanahu, just what you need in order to travel that path towards worshipping Him in the best way possible. To attain those higher levels of consciousness, those higher levels of understanding, to move to another level of clarity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, and He's telling you, this was written upon you. And it's interesting, even when you look outside of, any sort of spiritual, quote-unquote, path, you'll find fasting almost across the board. Everyone fasts. It's like it leaked all over the place, because this is a standard. If you want to come to a higher understanding and clarity of something bigger than yourself, you need to fast. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, this fasting was written upon you as it was written upon those who came before you. Which brings us to another point, which is the continuity of the message. This thing that you're doing, it's not specific to you. I'm not giving you this fasting and it's particular to you, the Muslims, or it's particular to you, the believers after the time of the Prophet ﷺ. No, this is something that has been historically founded. Every single group of people who have a divine message from the beginning of time, they fasted. Maybe they didn't fast Ramadan, maybe they didn't fast the whole month, but they fasted at some level, in some way, in order to gain that higher level of reality. And this is a very important point, because when we fast, part of it is that we should feel our relationship with more than ourselves. I fast, I should feel not only a relationship with other people in the world at this time, but also a historical continuity. That I'm engaging in a process that many, many people have engaged in before me, because we're all on the path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're all moving in that journey to reach and understand ourselves in a deeper way and understand the divine in a deeper way as well. The fourth is that this Ramadan, this time of Ramadan, this fasting that was written upon us is to gain a higher level of consciousness. It's not just to engage in everything the way that we do before. And if we focus on that point, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you can come to this God consciousness. Because every level of consciousness that comes thereafter should be rooted in the divine. I have environmental consciousness because I have divine consciousness. I have a consciousness of God who created me and everything else and gave me the responsibility of how I live my life. Therefore, I care about the environment. Therefore, I care about how I deal with wealth. Therefore, I care about how I spend my time. Therefore, I care about X, Y, Z, all of the blessings that have been given to us in all the different facets of life. I care about all these things. Why? Because my divine, my God consciousness is at a heightened level. And as a result, I care about everything else that comes around in a stronger way. The fifth and last thing, especially because we're in the summer, although really we shouldn't complain, is that the days are long. We feel that the days are long. Wallahi, if you go onto Islamic Finder right now, look up London, you won't complain about how long your days are. I don't even think they have, it's like a half night. Isha time gets suspect. It almost disappears in the middle of Fajr and Maghrib, between the two, because the night is so short. They literally have 2-3 hours. So we have, alhamdulillah, in Southern California still a lot of blessings. And I didn't think that it was going to be easy. I fasted yesterday, I didn't even, subhanAllah, it was very easy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not written something upon us that we cannot handle. If you have a health condition, if you have something that does not allow you to fast those days, you will feel some sort of illness, seek some sort of religious scholarship that can talk to you about the issue. You may not have to fast. If you're diabetic, chances are you should not be fasting. And I've had this discussion with a lot of people. They say, well, I want to fast. I feel guilty not fasting. You should not feel guilty. If Allah has told you that you need to fast for your benefit and you do not get benefit, and the sickness is mentioned in the verses as a reason to not fast, you do not fast. You have other things that you need to do in the month. So it doesn't take away from you, it doesn't take away from your righteousness. The righteousness comes from doing what Allah wants us to do. So all of these things are in there, but they're just a few days. أَيَّامٍ مَعْدُودَاتٍ, a few days. And all of us know, as soon as Ramadan comes, fill in as much as you can. As soon as Ramadan comes, we feel like, oh my God, we have 30 days. 5 days pass, we say we only have 25 days left. In the beginning, we're worried about the days. As soon as we get into it, we get into the feel of Ramadan, the days pass by quickly. So inshallah, Allah will make it easy upon us. And these are 5 things that we can take very simply from these verses. The first, again, is that these verses are calling the believers to that which benefits them. The second is the historical method in spiritual development of fasting. The third is the historical continuity, that this is not something new. The fourth is this elevated level of consciousness. And the fifth is that it's only a few days. It's only a few days where we're going in this intensive training to get to a higher level. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله. I advise myself and everyone else to have God consciousness and continue on these first verses that deal with Ramadan. Allah is telling us what we're going to do in that time. In this time, you're going to fast. And that fasting, here are some of the things that have to do with it. It's historical, it's going to get you to this level, so on and so forth. This is the action. So Allah is bringing our attention to the fi'l. What is it that we're going to do in this month that's so important? Then the second thing that comes after that is the time itself. Now the fast, you feel excited to fast, then you say, okay, I'm fasting when? In Ramadan. Why is Ramadan important? شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم. That this is the month wherein the Quran was revealed. So now you know, okay, fasting is great. I'm going to do fasting. When am I doing it? I'm doing it in the month when the Quran was revealed. And the Quran was a confirmation of that which came before it. A confirmation of that which came before it. A guidance to human beings. Clarity as to how they should live their life. And the criterion between good and bad and right and wrong and so on and so forth. All of this is in the Quran. And that Quran comes down in this month. So it's a blessed time also. It's not just that the action itself is blessed, but it's also that the time is blessed as well. So we have to keep that in mind. And also that this is the time of guidance, and this is the time that when we see this thing, this blessing that was given to us, we do extra acts of worship in it. The Quran being revealed in Ramadan, it's something that puts extra emphasis on it, extra time to do this worship, this increase in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are a few more comments, I'll skip them for the sake of time. I apologize for being late. It was supposed to take me 45 minutes, it took me an hour and a half, alhamdulillah. So here's the few advices. What we can take away, some things to do with ourselves and with our families that I hope will be of some benefit. The first is to eat suhoor, to eat the breakfast before fasting when Ramadan comes. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, تَسَحَّرُوا فَإِنَّ فِي السُّحُورِ بَرَكَةً. Take this suhoor, have it, this breakfast in the morning, because in the suhoor there's barakah, there's blessing in that breakfast. There's blessing in the time, there's blessing in the action itself, and it totally changes your Ramadan. If you don't eat suhoor, by the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th day, you start wearing out. Suhoor is very, very important, especially with the days being longer. Eat something nice, don't eat something that's totally fried, greasy. Eat food that's nice, clean, it will help us throughout the day. Not stuff that's going to make it worse. And make sure you get enough water because the days are long and hot. So you spend this time, and also it's not just the nutrition, it's the family time as well. I swear by Allah, that time at suhoor, there's blessings in it. For our families, for our communities, for everything. When you sit every single day, those are my best memories. When I used to live with my in-laws, the suhoor was the best time, and everyone was home in those days. They have, mashallah, 6 kids. So suhoor time comes, everyone's downstairs, half asleep, half awake, talking nonsense, having a good time, eating as much as they can. And then we get, not only that, then you get the fajr also. Everyone prays fajr together, your fajr's on time, you get the fast started in the right way. But that time in the morning is critical. And it builds those memories about what was Ramadan like, what were those beautiful days like, and we get to spend time with our kids, with our parents, with our brothers and sisters, and also with the community, inshallah. The second is to try, when we break our fast, to not eat the meal right away. To me, this is like, if you want to benefit from your Ramadan, this is very, very important. The time for the fast, breaking the fast comes, of course you break immediately. Make dua, don't forget dua for your family, your brothers and sisters, everyone else. Break the fast with some dates, some water, some soup, whatever it may be, something relatively light. Pray. Pray Maghrib. Pray your sunnah afterwards. Take the time to put the food on the table afterwards. So there's more, you're not eating just purely out of desire. You're eating, and now there's time between it. You eat with a little bit more raha. It's a little bit more ease in the way that you eat. And that way you won't eat as much. 2 things happen when you don't eat too much. The first is that you actually pray Taraweeh, and you focus when you pray. The second is that you're not burping and doing all kinds of other things in the Taraweeh line with your brothers and sisters. So don't eat too much, eat relatively nicely what you need. If you need to eat later, eat later. But believe me, subhanAllah, you think you need a lot, as soon as you break your fast, pray, come back later, you won't eat as much. So this is the second thing. The third, and I think most important, and I'll stop with this one, is to take this opportunity to spread love in our families, in our local communities, and our greater communities. Ramadan should be a time when we feel the spirit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we feel the presence of Allah in our lives, we feel the blessings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the things that we do, We take the time to connect with one another. We take the time to pay attention to one another. We invite our friends. We invite our family. We tell the people that we love them. And we try to increase in our love for one another and everyone else around us. This is really, really so beautiful and so possible in Ramadan. Because you're in a different state. You're in a level of spiritual height that it makes it easier to build those bonds. And so many people come to the masjid in Ramadan that don't come to the masjid otherwise. And it's such a great time for us to build those relationships with one another. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in goodness and make us steadfast on His path and to help us to reach Ramadan. Oh Allah, let us reach Ramadan. Oh Allah, increase us in goodness. Oh Allah, keep us away from the bad. Oh Allah, enter us into paradise. Keep us away from the hellfire. Help our brothers and sisters who are being oppressed here and all over the world. Help us to increase in our consciousness of You and the creation. Oh Allah, help us to do good and stay away from bad. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى. اللهم بارك لنا في هذه الدنيا وفي الآخرة. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين والمظلومين في كل مكان. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين والمظلومين في كل مكان. اللهم افتح علينا فتوح العارفين بك وبارك لنا في حياتنا كلها وفي آخرتنا يا رب العالمين. ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وأقيموا الصلاة.